All right, hopefully you took time to work through the problems. Now let's go through them together. So when you look at a math problem, the first thing you need to do is evaluate what functions you're needing to do. So in this first example problem, we're multiplying and dividing. So we don't need to worry about any order of operations. We would just punch this in the calculator, and the calculator is going to give us the answer that looks like this. And so now our job is to figure out how many numbers we can report from significant figures, okay? So when we have multiplication and division, we look at the total number of significant figures in the numbers in our problem. So 1.10, that zero is at the end after a decimal, so it counts. So that's 3. 0.5120, the zero before the decimal is a placeholder. So this one is 4. 4.0015, those zeros are sandwiched between other numbers, so they do count. So this one is 5 significant figures. And then we don't have any zeros to worry about, so everything is significant. The rule says we can have as many significant figures as the least in our problem, the least precise measurement. So that's going to be 3. So again, looking at our answer, that 0 is a placeholder, so we don't count it. We go 1, 2, 3. So there's the third significant figure. There's an 8 after it, so it's going to round it up, and the answer we would report is 0.654. That's 3 significant figures. In the next problem, we have addition and subtraction. Again, no mixed operations, so we punch it in the calculator, and the answer that we get is 4.873. But we need to look at how to report it to the correct significant figures. When we add and subtract, it doesn't matter about anything before the decimal. It's only the numbers after the decimal. So the first number has 3 after the decimal. The second one has 1 after the decimal. And the last one has 4. Again, we are limited by our worst measurement or our least precise measurement. So we can only have one number after the decimal. So that's going to be that place. There's a 7 after the 8, so it's going to round it up to 4.9. Okay, so what if we do have mixed operations? So here we have multiplication, division, and then we have parentheses that include subtraction. Well, if we think about order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, PEMDAS, okay? Parentheses always come first. So the first thing I need to do is this subtraction inside the parentheses and follow the rules for significant figures for it. So I subtract those two numbers, and the calculator gives me 0.3455. When I subtract, I look at decimal places. So that one's 4, that one's 2. I'm going to be limited to 2 decimal places, so it's right there. It has a 5 after it, so that's going to round up to 0.35. So now I'm bringing this multiplication and division and using 0.35 to finish out the problem. So when I multiply those numbers, divide by 0.35, my calculator tells me this really long answer. And since I'm multiplying and dividing, I go back to significant figures. So 4.562, that's 4 significant figures. 3.99870, that's 6 significant figures. And my 0.35 is only 2. So I'm limited to 2. That's going to be a whole number. Since it's a 0.1 after it, we just truncate or drop all the other numbers and make it 52. One more here. We have parentheses again, so we're going to do the parentheses first. We have multiplication inside the parentheses. So we're going to follow the rules for multiplication to determine what number that should be. So when we do 14.84 times 0.55, the calculator tells us 8.162. This has 4 significant figures. This only has 2. So I'm limited to 2. There's my second significant figure. So that's going to make that 8.2. And now we're subtracting 8.02 from that. So the calculator tells us that the answer is 0.18. But because we're subtracting, that one has 1 decimal place. That one has 2. I have to round this to 1 decimal place. So the answer I would report is 0.2. So what hopefully you'll start seeing from this is, as you're taking measurements, it's important to be consistent in the precision of the instruments you're using. That's what significant figures are about. They are a way of indicating how good your measurement is. In other words, how precise your measurement is. You wouldn't want to use a tool that has 7 significant figures with a tool that only has 1, because it doesn't matter how good that other tool was, you just limited yourself. So hopefully that helps. With a lot of practice, I think you'll get better with it. And thanks for listening.